So thank you for this invitation. As you might know, my background is not in human sciences. I'm a physicist in origin. I'd like to tell you, to give you a very unbiased point of view about intelligent and autonomous systems. It's important that we talk about these things at the moment, and you can track recent discussions through this document produced by the White House Office for Science and Technology, which was driven by the Silicon Valley area. It's very optimistic. AI society, a good society, all problem fixed, and ethics is just translated into transparency. Europe did something similar in 2016 through this Legal Affairs Committee of the Parliament. It was a very legal-oriented document. We need a lot of rules, laws, and so on and so forth. And this is centered primarily on robotics. UK was a little bit in the middle with a document that essentially explains the origin, the artifactual origin of robotics. A very pragmatic document, not adding much to the philosophy behind. I do like much more the recent document produced by the IEEE organization in 2017, the Global Initiative on Ethics of Autonomous Intelligent Systems, which is pointing towards human rights, well-being, accountability, transparency, and awareness of possible abuse. That I think is a timely and reasonable way to discuss the future perspectives of those technologies. But I think we need a definition without confusion. And I realize myself, being a technical guy, that sometimes people confuse AI and robotics. The two things just originate from different backgrounds and different histories. Till a couple of decades ago, we had machines having a body, embodied machine producing workforce, like a caterpillar. They were completely stupid. As such, we were not afraid because we said, okay, these machines are powerful, they do work, but we're not afraid because they are not a threat in terms of intelligence. They increase productivity, help humans, augment performances, but that's all. Then there were non-embodied machines, so not producing workforce. Actually, this is a non-embodied machine. Has some intelligence, computational intelligence, but doesn't move objects. And these were telephone, TV, radio. They were used for communication and entertainment, absolutely incapable to move objects, to produce workforce, so we were not threatened by these objects. We said, okay, they're good in calculating, but they don't threaten me physically, or they're strong in power, but they don't threaten me intellectually. But then lately, due to the progress of computational science and nanotechnology in the fabrication of computer, the computational power has been increasing exponentially over the last 20 years. So we added intelligence to both robots, having a body, producing workforce, and to both non-intelligent machines, like our computer, mobile phone, iPad, tablet, and so on and so forth. So the problem is today, do we feel threatened by those technologies? Because now we cannot say, we are safe because we are strong but stupid, or they're smart in calculating but they're not strong. Now they do both. So we should see what is the definition, what are the limits, and should be really worried about those things. Okay, let me give you some examples. These are robots that we produce in our lab. We are not interested in giving them an real anthropomorphic shape. We want them to be clearly visible as artifacts, okay? We're not interested in these robots to look like us, but we just want them to operate in our environment, using our casseroles, our switches, our forks, our knives, driving our cars. So they need arms, hands, legs, back. That's all. They're tools interacting. You see, this is the iCab. You will see also in a forthcoming presentation. In this case, you don't have an anthropomorphic view. This is a worker that is painting a piece of a car, and there are sensors through the body. So whenever it's green, it means that it's operating well. Then the green gets orange and then red because she is accumulating fatigue, because the position is not very good with such a heavy tool. So the robot understands this and helps the human in going towards the human, improving the ergonomics. And in this way, you recover the green, relaxing position for the muscles at the shoulders. Similarly now, the girl goes in a very flexible position, just painting from the bottom. And again, you will see soon the sensors detecting fatigue. So the back, the knees will be reddish. And so the robot understands that this is not a good position for the worker, and it changes the position to make the work easier. Europe spends 200 billions every year to fix diseases connected to the workforce. So that's definitely a very interesting technology. Let's go over. You see, this is one of the hydraulic quadrupeds that were working in a harsh environment, like catastrophic events, water flows, or earthquakes. Look at the dynamical stability. I mean, this punching ball is about 30 kilos. And on top, you see a big humanoid that is designed to help humans in heavy duty, heavy works. Okay, these are machines that don't need to be necessarily intelligent. In many situations, they are remote operated, or they just need a limited intelligence to develop, to deploy the task they are designed for. Of course, what you cannot do with the humans, you can do with a robot. So you can dismantle the robot and take the part you need more. This is one of our patients that is training the intelligence of the hand. This is a very sophisticated hand. You can write, you can drive, you can do many things with this hand. And you see, you educate the hand to move just by myoelectric contacts that are perceiving the electric field at the forearm of the amputated part. And you'll see here, this is the final product. This is now on the market. It's a startup of the institute. Just to give you an idea, this is a hand that cost 11,000 euro. Best competitors are in the range of 50,000 euro. This has been designed with the patients, co-designed with the patients. And this gives you, once again, a good indication how socially important can be those technologies. But we're talking about body wear here. Okay, so these are body components. Now, there's a second part that we still can keep them separated, body and mind. The second part is artificial intelligence versus natural intelligence. So, what is the real threat in this case? Because this is the other point where people often are curious and maybe catastrophic in the discussion. So in this picture you see my third son, guess which of the two, and the other one is also a son, but of course, let's say created in a different way with many parents. Actually, my son, Alkis, has a three-dimensional brain, 65% water, with about 10 to the 14 synapses. So this is a strongly interconnected biological system with 40 watts. 40 watts is about 1/5 of my computer. My son, as everybody here in this room, performs some 10 to the 16 operation per second. 10 to the 16 operation per second, binary operation per second equivalent. The other boy is called ICAP, you've seen before, has of course a flat computer, 10 to the 9 transistor on average, a two-dimensional structure in silicon, no water at all. With about 200 watts, it performs 10 to the 8 operation per second. So we're talking about 5 times as much of the power, but approximately 8 orders of magnitude less operation per second. It means something like 100 millionths times operation per second less than the human brain. So the result is that my boy, with a piece of chocolate, about 1,000 kilocalories, never stops for 2 days. The other one, after 2 hours, 1.3 kilowatt, which is 1/2 of what you have in the house, stops. Okay? Despite this, that's a very good technology. You've seen how many things can be done by those technologies. So let's see the first lesson we got from nature. My son consists of 6 atoms, like any living system in the planet. We are all, and I say all, I mean ourselves, plants, animals, everything living, composed by 65% oxygen, 18% carbon, 10% hydrogen, and a few spots of nitrogen, calcium, and phosphorus. In order to make, once again, this, or ICAP, you need at least 30 atoms. And you say, who cares? No, you should care. Because we were designed to be created by these 6 atoms in 9 months and to be degrading after the life cycle in another 9 months, approximately. Whereas normally you take 4 hours to build this, but you take 40 days to dismantle completely. This is especially for a car, not for an electronic device. So this is something that we should consider, because ultimately it means that the cost per operation in a human system is cheaper than the cost per operation in an artificial system. Let me give you a specific example. If you want to simulate entirely the operation of a human, you need something like 10 to the 18 operation per second. That would be equivalent to an exaflop supercomputer. Exaflop means exa, floating point operation per second machine, 10 to the 18 floating point operation per second machine. We do have at the moment 6 or 7 machines like those in the planet. Okay, 2 are in China, and then Japan, Germany, I think of course, USA. Not more than 6 or 7. Typically, as you see in the plot, the computational power of machines has been increasing exponentially over the last few decades, and today we do have machines capable of performing 10 to the 16 up to the 10 to the 18 binary operation per second. But the normal consumption is in the range of 15 megawatt, so 15 millions of watt. So we do have artificial machines having a computational power even superior to the one of the brain, the human brain, but they need more than 10 megawatts of power. I think 10 megawatts is the entire power consumption of the Vatican City, I guess. So the point is, the power cost per operation in artificial systems goes from 1,000 to 5,000 times higher than in humans. In most cases, AI, artificial intelligence, is not a cost-effective technology. So the first message I would like to give you, despite I am a guy that is working hard on these things, like all my colleagues here, is that I wouldn't develop AI to fix my water closet when it's broken, okay? Nor I wouldn't develop AI because I want to cook eggs or because I want to do things that I can do much easier and much cheaper with standard technologies. This is something that if we do because there is a big task. We want to go to Mars. We want to predict the climate change. We want to help humans in very difficult computational tasks. So first of all, the expectation sometimes is a nonsense. Let's go over. What is then the challenge? If I have a robot like me, 1.5 meters or 2 meters or so, I don't have enough space and I don't have enough power to install a supercomputer in the head of the robot, because the supercomputer would be as big as 1/3 of this room, and then I need the central power station, 15 megawatts, to run it. So I cannot place a supercomputer directly in the head of a robot, which means that the robot will remain individually rather stupid, capable of performing selected tasks for which they were designed. But the technology gives me a powerful tool now. I get a global repository of the intelligence that we call the cloud, or anything like it, and I can, in principle, connect millions up to billions robots to the cloud. So, in this respect, we might have a new species consisting of millions of robots having one collective intelligence. All the intelligence is there, all the experience is there, all the big processing is done there, whereas the resident intelligence in the machine is just minimum for the body motion and few others basic metabolic behaviors. So the first problem I do see as a technical guy, not as a philosopher or a humanistic guy, is that this is another species. There is no biological equivalent of this species. There's 7 billion humans, everyone with individual brain, a little bit crazy, with hormones, many strange things. We are capable of doing fantastic things, but also very, very nasty things. And then there are maybe 7 billion robots with just one brain, where all the intelligence has been developed and is shared. So the technology tells us that we want a big cloud, very powerful infrastructure. We need a 5G. That's why people are fighting so hard for the 5G, because you need a very fast wireless protocol to exchange information. If you say to the robot, I want that glass of water, the robot should answer immediately, because when you say this to a human, you wait for 0.1 seconds, and you want the robot to do the same. So you need a very fast wireless connection, very fast everything. And in this respect, you understand how big is the challenge in technology. So are we ready to coexist with another species, which is non-biological, having one single brain and millions or billions of individuals? That's a good question. Philosophical, anthropological, social, regulatory. I mean, I personally don't see any problem in this, okay, to be frank. We have billions of cars now, and we have the rules to conduct the car on the road. We have rules to fly with the aircraft. We have rules for everything. We should do rules also for those machines. Will be complex rules, of course, taking into account many aspects, not only technical, but it's just a matter of rules. But we need to talk about these things. We need to face them. We need to compare diversity. That's very important. That's why I personally accepted enthusiastically to work in this symposium, because of course definitely I'm not, as I said, a philosopher or a man of church, but I think it's good that we talk about these things and we discuss these things from different points of view, without any bias. Okay, I think I'm unbiased. Now you see, this is one of our robots. It's called R1. It's a very low-cost robot, extremely effective, of course, cloud-connected. It operates now with patients in the house. This is actually an apartment where there are elder people having neurodegeneration. And the guy, well, this is one of our engineers, not an old guy, said, go to the kitchen and take a juice. He didn't say, go to the kitchen, position XYZ, on the table, position ABC, take the red box with this size. This could have done by any robot. He said simply, go to the kitchen and take the juice. That is really difficult for a robot. It's not a deterministic order. So this is a real intelligent, artificial intelligent routine. It took 1.5 minutes to take the juice. You would have gone, for sure. Anyway, imagine that this is in the cloud, and imagine you want to hack her. You want to enter and say, okay, now kill the old man. You can do this. So clearly there is a danger. We need rules for this, because these machines will be everywhere and will be in contact with us, with our children, at the working place, in the hospitals. So we need to face this problem. We don't need to be scared of the problem. We need to face the problem, which is different than being scared. So what we need is a balanced relationship between humans and technology. Some of the fears, to my opinion, are reasonable, and this is what I told you. We need rules, for instance, for the cloud, for the safety, and so on. Some others are simply unrealistic. I mean, it's unrealistic to say that the robot will come and kill all of us, simply because it will be so stupid that it will be impossible. Yet, it is very good to discuss pros and contras of autonomous intelligence systems, keeping in mind that, and I say this as a scientist, not as an individual, actions have consequences. We produce 300 million tons of plastic every year since 1950. And now, one morning, we wake up and say, oh, the ocean is full of plastic. Guess why? We knew that this was non-biodegrading as a material. We knew that we're producing 300 million tons per year, but nobody made a multiplication and said, what happens in 20 years? I mean, this to me is anti-scientific. And the fact that people realize now that there is a problem means that the humans are very stupid sometimes, more stupid than robots. And the second thing is that we should not be afraid of what we don't understand. And this is the case, because we still don't understand AI, robotic automation fully, and the relationship with humans. We should study it. That's all. Just study, which is the opposite normally done in most environments I've seen around, including politics. So what happened in the last 150 years? The pace of innovation got faster and faster, and we have no time to metabolize innovation. So you see, agricultural machines started in 1870, and we had about 80 years to get used to that and to exploit all the benefits. Telephone, 1870, it took 1 century to become familiar with. Robots, AI, 10 years. I want to show you a nice plot. This is the case of the information communication technology case. This is the time needed until a quarter of the American population started to use routinely those technologies. So you see, in the year 1900, radio became available, and it took about 40 years to become common as a technology. But if you see, in the last 20 years, the web, the mobile phone, the PC appeared, and it took 5 years to get widely accessible. So, what does it mean? In the past, technological change, were intergenerational. This means that society, people, education, the productive system could adapt, get the best out of those technologies. And there was, in general, a positive workforce balance in the long term. In the present, changes are intragenerational. So from me and my son, there are 5 generations of technologies. And we don't have time to get adapted. The productive system has problem to get adapted to this fast pace of change. Society, people, education, productive system have no time to adapt. Negative workforce balance in the short term for sure happens. We lose jobs. Maybe we will recover in the long term. But in the meantime, a lot of people get in trouble. This plot shows you over the last 20, 30 years or so, how non-routine cognitive works were growing. So the skill still is one of the most important things for the workforce. Whereas all the routine cognitive and routine manual jobs were dropping, were decreasing. Because we're progressively replaced by automatic intelligence systems, more or less intelligent systems. As you see, non-routine manual, that is handcraft jobs, they were even slowly increasing. So the plumber that fixes your water closet when it's broken will survive forever. No supercomputer can fix your water closet, believe me. For many, many years it will be the case. And if you talk, these are data taken from the World Economic Forum. If you ask the main companies in the future job survey, what is the big challenge for the industrial strategies over the next 20 years? 65% of the company answer, invest in reskilling current employees. I mean, of course. Technology changes every 5 years. Every 5 years you lose jobs and you have to reskill your workers. Otherwise, these people are no longer in the market. And then support mobility and job rotation. Second question, World Economic Forum again, was which are the main obstacles to the change? And 51% answered insufficient understanding of disruptive change. I mean, this is crazy. These are the same people that produce the change, and they say, we don't understand what we are producing, simply because there is no risk assessment of technology. This is a very serious issue. We produce new technology, and we don't make any risk assessment. So after 5 years, say, whoops, we didn't consider that this could have been dangerous. I mean, this is absolutely anti-scientific. And this is responsibility of the scientists first. Look at the asbestos. 50 years ago, it was the solution for all the concrete building problems. And now, it's a deadly killer. This was the consequence of no risk assessment when the technology is produced. We are not equipped for risk assessment. We don't do this. It's not required. We don't consider seriously the problems. There will be new jobs, of course, digital healthcare, nanobiotech professional, craft jobs, digital architects, material architects, energy manager, food technologists. All those jobs will require such an upskill of knowledge that it will not be easy to reconvert workers in 2 weeks. Okay, this needs years of study. It's not like 50 years ago. You were losing your position as an agricultural operator, and you were becoming operator in a warehouse. That was easy. But now you cannot say, okay, you lose your job in the warehouse and you go and you become a code programmer. It doesn't work. So this is something serious. And if you want to face this problem, we have to accept that society is a sort of neural system, completely interconnected. So we have seen over the last 20 years that changing from a switch to a resistor, that is from a resistor to a capacitor, which means changing from the switch to the touch screen. Very big companies in the telephone technology disappeared. Going from the silver nitrides to the silicon CCD, companies in the photographic companies disappeared. I mean, these were gigantic companies. And in a few years, they just evaporated. And we changed some very little things, from the resistor to the capacitor. Imagine when the change in the technology is much bigger. Well, what could happen? So I think the second message is we would need a continuous learning society in which after you finish the school at the age of 17 or 18, somebody should take care of informing workers and citizens. And this is something that requires the collaboration between public and private school, education system, TV, everybody. Because, of course, we could mitigate the risk that people at the age of 40, they lose their job and they don't know what to do next. So a continuous learning society is possibly one of the largest, the biggest cultural challenges of our generation now. And I think the guys in this room, all of us, we should seriously consider this as a primary need for the next generations. I'm going to conclude with another question. Is this problem local or global? And I will anticipate the answer. It's a global problem. So it's a strange mixture of the two. You see, this is the population of the planet since the year 2000 before Christ. So for about 4,000 years, nothing happens. We were about 1 billion, and there were resources for everybody, space for everybody, water for everybody. We even didn't meet each other. And then over the last 150 years, singularity, exponential growth, and we became 7 billions. I mean, no thermodynamical system could stand such an acceleration in physics. No one. And even less a sociological system like the society we live, the global society we live. Just a few interesting features of this exponential growth. The planet population in the last 100 years grew more than in the last 5,000. This is an off-equilibrium condition. In 2014, for the first time, we produced more artificial systems than rice seeds. And particularly in 2014, for the first time, humanity produced more transistors than rice seeds. Rice seeds are normally the most heavily produced natural resource, but now transistors are more. Transistor means ICT, computer, everything, AI. Without transistor, you don't go anywhere, okay, with these technologies. Data produced over the last 2 years always exceed those produced in the previous 50 years. Imagine how much stupid information we exchange with this telephone. 90% is useless. But this costs energy, costs a lot of energy, and uses transistors continuously. And finally, information travels faster than neural signals. So normally, an email goes across the planet faster than a brain signal reaches my foot. So these are data. They imply a number of changes in the system. And you have to connect those data with the Human Development Index. Sorry, this is in Italian. Human Development Index is a normalized parameter that puts together life expectancy, years of school, and the per capita GDP. So if you're rich, you go to school, normally you live long. Is that okay? Very simple equation. So where the Human Development Index is around 1, the dark areas, you are in an advanced planet. Where the Human Development Index is around 0.5, you are in a very difficult place to live. And this is the area where the Human Development Index is below 0.5. By the way, all the immigratory flux are coming from there, guys. This is a macroeconomical picture, but you can connect this to the immigration, to natural resources, and many other things. So what is the role of technology? Of course, the role of technology for the next decades will be to reduce the gap, while increasing the average. And please remember these two things together. Reducing the gap means this, but not lowering our standard, increasing the standard of everybody. This is a terrific challenge. And this is where I see robotics, AI very useful. But once they are used properly. So I conclude with this. What is the model we want? What is the model of society we want? Homo habens, what we are now, is measuring things because robots are used for increasing productivity. That means I produce more pieces per unit time. No matter what happens, I throw away the rubbish in the backyard of my neighbor, some underdeveloped country. I care about my local GNP growth. I don't care about the global GNP growth, like assuming that the planet is not an isolated system, okay? I mean, what happens to me has nothing to do with what happens in another place, but then we share the atmosphere, we share the resources and everything. So it's a multi-speed society. Resource exploitation is based on first arrived, first served. Guys, this is the picture of our planet now. And it's not said by a politician, it's said by a scientist. I can translate this in watts. I can translate this in cubic kilometers of water. I can translate this in lithium, whatever the figure you want. The model we want of society maybe is different because this one is not sustainable. So the model could be robots for optimization of processes, reducing water fingerprint, carbon fingerprint, energy fingerprint. So I produce the same number of pieces per unit time, but it costs me less because I need less water, less energy, and less everything. Robot to replace humans in dangerous, heavy, harsh environment. Good. This is why we do them. And finally, global sustainability becoming the indicator of local growth. Global sustainability. Global, that becomes a local growth indicator. This is a different model of society. I like to call Homo sapiens 2.0 because, it's a time of 4.0, 3.0. Okay, Homo 2.0. So I conclude saying that we need a regulatory frame, we need a continuous learning society, we need to rethink our global social model to be sustainable. Then, the problem is the humanoid, or is the human? Or in other words, the problem is the artificial intelligence or the natural stupidity. And I think with this conclusion, I hope you will think about what I said and start reevaluating the role of technology. We are not doing things just because they are expensive toys. We do things because we would like our children to live better.